All right, so today we're diving into something that might seem super basic on the surface.
Yeah.
A YouTube video just called English Speaking Practice Part 1.
Okay.
But, stick with us here,
Yeah.
okay? Because even in a simple video like this, there's actually some really interesting stuff going on about, how we learn language.
Right.
And all the kind of cultural baggage
Yeah.
that comes along with even the most basic conversations.
Absolutely. I think what's really cool about this video is that it's meant for language learning.
Yeah.
But it actually tells us a lot about just human communication in general.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so right away, the thing that kind of jumps out at you is the repetition, right? It's like, hello, how are you? Do you speak English? It's just this loop of phrases over and over.
Yeah.
I'll admit, when I first saw it, I was like, really? Is this all there is to it? But then, I started thinking
Yeah, and that's where the cool stuff comes in, right?
Right.
Because this repetition, it's not just random. It's actually a core idea in how people learn languages.
oh,
It's called spaced repetition.
okay.
And basically, research has shown that if you see or hear something, and then you see it again later, and then again later, and the spaces between get bigger,
Yeah.
that helps you remember it way better.
Interesting.
So even though it might seem kind of boring at first,
Yeah.
this video is actually using a really smart learning trick.
That's so cool. It's kind of like how little kids learn to talk, right?
Exactly.
It's all about hearing their parents say the same phrases over and over again
Yeah.
until they finally get it and start saying it themselves.
Right.
It's not just about remembering the words. It's about getting comfortable enough to actually use them.
Totally. And that leads us to the actual phrases they chose for this practice, right?
Okay.
So we've got, are you American? Where are you from? And of course, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And, at first glance, these seem like pretty basic,
Oh,
kind of universal greetings.
right. But when
Yeah.
you look closer.
Yeah, there are actually some hidden assumptions and cultural biases in there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. At first I was like, oh yeah, these are just normal things to say. But then I realized whoa, wait a minute. There's actually a lot packed into these seemingly innocent questions.
For sure, take the question, are you American, for example.
Yeah.
Think about what it assumes right off the bat.
Okay.
It automatically connects language with nationality.
Yeah.
Which isn't always true at all.
Right.
It also kind of reveals this bias towards American English
Oh, yeah.
as the default way to speak English.
Interesting.
And that might make people from other English-speaking countries feel kind of left out.
Yeah, and it made me think, how often do we make these kinds of assumptions in real life
Right.
without even realizing it,
Yeah,
just based on someone's accent or how they say things?
absolutely. And that's a really important point because it shows us that learning a language isn't just about the vocabulary and the grammar. It's also about understanding the culture that the language is used in.
Totally, totally. Okay, and then there's this one that I thought was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah?
The response a little to both, do you speak English? And, are you American?
Uh-huh.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine being asked if you're American
Yeah.
and just saying, a little?
I mean, it is funny,
Yeah.
but it also shows how complicated identity can be,
Oh, interesting.
right? It suggests that maybe the speaker feels connected to American culture, but not completely.
No.
It's like a nuanced answer that you can give even if you don't know a lot of words.
It's like a beginner's way of saying, it's complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shows how you can be clever with language,
Yeah.
even if you're not totally fluent yet.
Okay, moving on. We see the phrase, I'm from New York, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It's like the video is giving us this very specific example for practicing how to talk about where we're from.
Right.
But why New York?
That's a great question. It probably has to do with who made the video.
Yeah.
Or who they thought would be watching it.
Okay.
But it also reminds us that these language learning tools,
Yeah.
they're often made with a specific culture in mind. So what might seem like a totally normal example to one person
Yeah.
could be totally different for someone else.
For sure. For sure. So even in something as simple as an English practice video, we got to be aware of these subtle biases.
Absolutely. I think this all leads to a really interesting question for our listeners.
Okay.
Think about your own experiences learning a new language.
Yeah.
Or maybe talking to people from different cultures. Have you ever run into similar assumptions or biases hidden in the language?
Oh, that's a good one.
And if so, how did you handle them?
Yeah. That's something to think about.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.